Week one.
Okay, all right, folks. We've got the red light on, so that means it's a go. And welcome everyone this evening. We've got someone special here that would like to lead us in our flag salute. And Daniel, would you like to come forward? Introduce yourself and your troop and...
Hi, my name is Daniel Mize, and I'm from Troop 3.
Wonderful. And would everyone like to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? We'll let Daniel lead us. So,
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you for attending this evening, and this is a part of his communication badge then? Yeah, so thank you. Hope we're not too boring for you this evening. Yeah, but thank you, Daniel. Okay, roll call, Mary.
Olson.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Kellum.
Here.
Kopsinski.
Here.
Coburn.
Here.
Okay, and then we have actually a scheduled, first business from the public is a scheduled item, and this is a request for after-hours construction work, and this would be over the Lowe's project. So who would like to lead on this, or was that, are you from Lowe's? Yes, you may come forward, and if you could state your name and address. And
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor and City Council, thanks for seeing us. My name is Nicholas Pennington, and I'm with Robinson Construction. And we're here, well, first off, because we've already broken the law. We did not understand the law correctly. Our permit doesn't restrict our hours necessarily, but the noise ordinance does. So we've already had 3 or 4 pours that started about 4 in the morning. And we've disrupted the neighbors. We've now reached out to them and tried to appease them. We've shifted our washouts and our lights in a manner that we think would appease them, but we are still requesting to continue our pours Friday, Saturday, and then Monday through Saturday of next week. And Saturday of next week we'll be completely done with our concrete pours before 7 a.m.
Okay, so actually for a little over a week then.
Yes.
Okay. All right, questions, council? Yeah, Rich?
The folks who had problems with it, what was the problem besides just they were being awakened, or?
Yes, so the process, the concrete trucks go inside the building or pour outside depending on where the pour is.
Mhm.
And then as they exit, they have to clean out their trucks and their chutes. And so we have a clean out area. That area was initially staged at the front of the building. We plan to relocate it to the back of the building now so that the building shields the sound. But it was right at the front of the building. The neighbors along Oak Street there, the concrete trucks backing in and out. They have very loud beepers, obviously for safety. And so it was mostly the backup beepers. I know there is some concern of light as well, so we're addressing the light so that it doesn't show into the neighbors' windows whatsoever. So that won't be a problem, but there is still going to be truck traffic. So we shouldn't have any backup beepers along Oak and in the front of the warehouse, but there will be backup beepers, I guess, at the rear of the building.
And are the neighbors happy at this point with the changes you've proposed?
So-so. They've been pretty understanding overall, yeah. So, obviously, they would prefer not to have trucks, right? So, yeah.
Just for the council's information, I know we've had at least one complaint. We had one gentleman who said he would be here this evening, but apparently he didn't make it. Again, it was just what you would expect. I mean, people don't like to get awakened early in the morning, so.
Other questions?
I think that one individual as well, I think we talked with him before the meeting, and I think he's satisfied with our changes that we plan to make.
Bill?
I just didn't know if there were any other options, because right now I would tend to vote no. 4 o'clock just seems very, very early. And I didn't know if there's a compromise of, 5 or 5:30, 6,
I most definitely can compromise on Saturdays. That's simple. The problem we have actually is concrete demand. And so the amount of concrete we pour at once really takes almost all of the concrete plant's trucks. And they do. They've got so many other customers to satisfy. So they can't give us the trucks we need in order to do our job. So that's the biggest problem we have, is just getting trucks. Starting at 6 a.m. with the temperatures, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal since it's not 100-degree days anymore. So mostly we're looking at trucks. And during the week, yeah, we need them as early as we can. Usually we'd like to pour at like 2 or 3 in the morning. So we've pushed it back as far as we can, we feel.
Could you do it, say, maybe the earlier time during the weekday and then on the weekend do a little later?
Absolutely.
Would that work?
If 6 o'clock on Saturdays.
And Sunday? Or you wouldn't be doing Sunday?
We won't pour on Sundays. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That might help the neighbors some, I think, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, council, what would you like to do with this?
I guess I do have a problem with it. And it's, I'm a small businessman. I know what happens. But you're talking about pouring starting at 6 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever that is. Other businesses don't get to do that. I mean, you are a welcome addition to the area. But, if somebody is putting a house on, or a roof on somebody's house, they don't get to go out there at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. And they're making noise that's disturbing people. It seems to me like there would be, like Bill was saying, there would be some kind of a different situation that could happen. There's more than one company selling concrete. If you have a great big project, you might have to deal with more than one place. I'm tending to vote no.
Well, I think it's just a matter of scale. Get it, there's so much that's being poured and needs to be poured in a relatively short period of time. Get it done, get it out of the way. There'll be some disruption for a short period of time, and a week is a short period of time in the overall scale of things. I'm all in favor of having it done.
And Bessie?
Yeah, because I believe we have granted a waiver of time. I think we did when Walmart came in, and so I agree that it's got to get done, because I understand how many trucks you have to have in, plus you have to work the cement and everything like that, so you have to start early and get it all done. So I just think, like you said, for the scale of it, I think a week's time, a little over a week, and if you could help on Saturday. To me, I don't know why Saturday is any worse than a weekday, really, but I'm for giving the waiver.
Does anybody remember when Costco asked us, what did we grant them for time? Do you remember?
I don't think it was that early, I think, but we did grant them. There were a couple of occasions. One was Walmart, and they were pouring quite a bit earlier, and maybe that might be the more comparable situation, because they had that residential development right next to them. And I think with Costco, it was only like one day, as I recall,
To do their entryway or something, but do you remember with Walmart, what kind of hours did they ask for?
I don't think it was quite that early, but it was 5 or 6.
He might know.
Oh, yeah, you guys did that.
It was Robinson who was doing it.
I know we did work a lot earlier.
That's right.
On that, yeah.
So do you remember the time?
I don't remember the specific time,
Yeah.
but it was early. It was definitely early.
We've had other projects, too, where there was some work done on the freeway, and we had some remember over by Timberland Park, we had trucks going in and out at pretty early, well, actually throughout the night in that location. So there's certainly precedent for granting
Temporary,
temporary.
yeah.
And as long as the neighbors are, knowledgeable about it, then,
Well, if the neighbors are happy, it doesn't make any difference.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, if no one's being gored, but you don't all seem to be all that sure that no one, well, you think they're happy with it. I mean, it's a difference between if it's one day and you miss some sleep, but you do that for 6 days in a row, and you're a grumpy Gus. I mean, it's, the guy's mad, and he snaps at his wife, and she snaps at the kids. I mean, it's not, goes downhill, or uphill, as the case may be.
Well, we do believe we've addressed everybody that we're aware of.
Good.
Anybody else, we've knocked on doors, and we haven't had anybody say they've got a strong problem with it, other than that one individual who we believe we've resolved our differences.
Yeah, okay. Counsel, yeah, Floyd?
I would move the requested action with the clarification that Saturday is restricted to 6 a.m.
Second?
Okay, any more discussion? So it'd be 4 a.m. for Monday through Friday? There's,
Yeah.
Floyd, is that it? And then 6 a.m. on Saturday?
Right.
So, okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Olson,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes?
Callum,
No.
Kupczynski,
Yes.
Coburn.
No.
It's 4-2.
Okay, all right, motion carried. All right?
Great,
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck. Mhm. Okay, that was a scheduled item from business from the public. So next, is there anyone that would like to bring an item forward from business from the public? And Chuck, I think you had an item? Yes, uh-huh.
Evening, my name's Chuck Cratch. I live at 1720 Northwest Ferguson, very close to something called an eggabout or ogleabout. Read an interesting article in the letters to the editor this morning that pretty much mirrors my opinion. First of all, thanks for letting me speak tonight. The reason is basically because the article appeared in the Democrat Herald about 3 weeks ago now, where City Council and Benton County both met together, which I really commend. I think that's really forward-thinking and smart on your part, and I appreciate that. But during what the paper said was, most people like the roundabout. And so that made me curious, and I went out and started talking to people. In fact, it generated in my mind a petition. I've got a copy of a petition here tonight with about nearly 155 signatures on it. I went out 3 evenings and 1 Sunday afternoon and just spoke to people all around my neighborhood. And as I say, I do live very close to that. The comment was, it was good for the purpose it was made for. It was very necessary and it did the job. It was appreciated. It worked. Now, we feel the need has passed and we'd like to see it removed. My next stop is to go to Benton County and speak to them on the same topic and present my petition. I have a feeling that it's outlived its usefulness. As the letter to the editor said, it's really not a safe situation any longer. People are going faster and faster through it and making illegal turns. I realize this is now out of your jurisdiction, but you did a great thing in setting aside funds for the removal of it, if that was necessary, and sharing those funds with Benton County, which, again, I think is extraordinary for one agency to work closely with another like that. I think that covers it. Let me read the heading on my petition. Petition to the City of Albany and Benton County. We, the undersigned, wish to express our opinion that the Spring Hill Quarry Roundabout in North Albany be removed and not replaced. We believe that the Spring Hill Quarry intersection does not warrant the addition of an expensive roundabout, as this intersection has a very low accident rate and good visibility. Again, thanks to city staff for cleaning up the site problems on Quarry and Spring Hill. They did a good job. That's it. Thank you for your time. I realize you're not going to make any motions or take any action. Just wanted to present my petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Chuck, when you
Questions?
went out, going door to door asking, did you have anybody that said they liked it?
Yes.
The roundabout, okay.
Yes, I
But
had.
you didn't keep track of
I
numbers?
had 11 people that
Oh.
really liked it and felt
Okay.
it should be left just as it is.
Okay.
Because they felt that the reduced size actually slowed people down, and they would trade the tightness of the corners
Yeah,
for leaving it there. Although without exception, they asked that the large lumps be removed. The fellow that you know, Bill,
Dudek, yeah.
right on the corner, I sat in his house and it rattles his windows when trucks hit those large bumps on the road.
And I think that can be worked out where they could remove that part, so.
Probably
yeah.
very quickly once.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
start moving along.
Right, yeah. So it's kind of those rumble strips, and it just makes this whole house rattle when, cars are going over it, but, yeah. So, I mean, I've heard, since the article came out, I've had quite a bit of people that have called or, I've come across, and I've had, many that said, no, they do not like it, but I still had a lot that said they do like it, so it's just, it's hard to kind of find that balance.
Certainly.
On that, so, yeah, but I'm kind of glad it's totally up to Benton County.
Good.
Yeah, they can decide, so. Got any questions, council? Yeah, Floyd?
Not of Chuck, but of staff. If Benton County chooses to remove it, are there other traffic calming techniques that could slow the traffic down at that intersection when it's southbound on Spring Hill?
3-foot wide ditch.
It'd certainly be a difficult location because of the speed of the road itself. We do have some rumble strips out there just north of the roundabout. They're not very aggressive rumble strips. The downside of those is the more aggressive you make them, the louder they get for the people that live next to them. Certainly not a place where you want to be looking at speed bumps or anything like that. Ron, do you have any creative ideas beyond what we've already employed out there?
I guess I'd make a comment that even prior to the construction and the installation of the oval about, as a representative of that area, I was getting several complaints about the speed of the loaded, particularly the loaded log trucks. You get a loaded log truck that's supposed to be going 40 and they're doing 50, and the stopping distance for that log truck going down through that residential area is exacerbated. And my concern is that with the potential removal, speeds will elevate again to 60 miles an hour, all the way down to the railroad track where those trucks have to slow down to cross that track. So you've got all those intermediate side streets and driveways. It's not just the streets. There are many driveways that face on Spring Hill. So in my opinion, I think we're heading for problems before we head the roundabout. I think removal will put us right back in the same position. If there's a way to mitigate that, to get some form of traffic calming or speed reduction on a permanent basis, then I don't like spending the $42,000, and that was not my number. That's a number that comes out of the bid document that will cost us to remove that. But I am concerned about the speed on Spring Hill. I'm concerned about the safety for the people with the driveways and those side streets.
That was a universal comment on those that were against it. Dislike it, but it is slowing trucks down.
You know, I think some people don't understand that it's okay for those trucks to drive over the hump. You know, it was designed for them to drive over the hump, and the little bulbs that cause the rumble, or not just the little rumble strips, but the bounce, they were put there so that the trucks wouldn't try to take that at 25, 30, 35 miles an hour. And to a large extent, it's an educational process for truck drivers and for the drivers of that small oval about. I would concur with the author of the letter to the editor. It's not designed to permanent engineering criteria. But when we talked to Benton County, it was at least they indicated that they were looking to install a properly designed, properly sized traffic control device there in the future. And I didn't see putting $42,000 out the window if they're going to have to do something in the near future. And so the only question is, what's near?
A comment that several people made was that they understood it could be 300,000 to 400,000 to put in a correct roundabout.
Well, that's probably reasonable.
And today, the feeling was that's not the best use of taxpayers' money.
Yeah. No, and I have heard many comments on that where people said, well, the trucks are driving over the middle, and I said, no, it is designed to do that, but a lot of people did not know, but, yeah. Okay, all right, okay, thank you, Chuck. Okay, is there anyone else from business from the public? Okay, seeing any? All right, next item is the second reading of ordinance. So, Deputy City Attorney? That's your job.
Brought my glasses, okay.
You need mine?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Oh, these might even be, oh, yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. That's right, I like it. They do a good job. Are we ready?
Yep.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 4447, which adopted the City of Albany Comprehensive Plan and Map by amending the Albany Comprehensive Plan text of the Transportation System Plan and adopting findings.
I'll make a motion for adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, Dick?
Yeah, I wanted to say last week that I think it's a shame to lose the connectivity between the adjoining neighborhood and particularly the school that's there. On those two streets, that's the extension of Timber Ridge and Somerset Street. And I thought it was interesting that Wes's blog where he comes, as We Share, noted to us that on the second page, he notes that mortality rate for cyclists have risen dramatically in the United States over the past 30 years. And I think it's seems to be our continuing move towards less and less connectivity that makes it harder and harder for people to ride bicycles and walk safely and also within walking distance. So I think it's a shame to cancel these two streets that would improve connectivity. But at the same time, I realize that we don't have the money to build the bridge, apparently, and we don't have the money to improve these streets. So I'm wondering if we ought to have a discussion about whether we do more with local improvement districts or we do more with SDCs, and then should we raise our SDCs? How can we afford to build the streets that I think we ought to build? Those are the comments I wanted to make 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to vote for this because I don't see we have any alternative ideas.
Sharon?
All right.
I too, like Dick, I'm going to vote for it, but I think this is another example where we have conflicts between multi-purposes from various state and federal jurisdictions. You know, when Senate Bill 100 was passed back in the 70s, the concept of urban growth boundaries and confining urbanization to an area to save farm and forest land, you know, I think that was a laudable objective. Then along comes EPA with all their wetlands. Now we have wetlands inside the urban growth boundaries which weren't contemplated when Senate Bill 100 was formulated. So we have to save the wetlands, or we have to mitigate them, but yet we have to accommodate the densities, which means we're going to have to expand the urban growth boundary sooner and go out into the farm and forest land. And as it applies to this, complying with the wetlands issues, or the wetlands for causing additional problems, is really counter to sound transportation planning. So at some point, the state agencies and to some extent the federal agencies have to come to grips with competing priorities and what's just going to control. because like I believe it's the city of McMinnville has been trying to expand their urban growth boundaries for 17 years or more. Newburgh's been trying to expand theirs because they're out of buildable area because they have wetlands inside their urban growth boundaries. You know, we experienced the wetland impact with the Pepsi property, and we saw in the South Albany area plan all the wetland limitations. And we're going to see things getting more and more complicated to comply with that, but yet then we have LCDC standing in the way that says, but you can't break your urban growth boundary because you haven't demonstrated the full need. So I think I mentioned that a few weeks ago I attended the governor's solution team meeting here in this room, and I raised that to the solution team that somebody needs to pull together some policy heads that are talking about those competing priorities at the state level and the implications that has to the local urban growth area. It manifests itself as impacting our transportation plan. We see it driving cost of roads and streets up. You know, I don't know what it is now, $70,000, $90,000 an acre to mitigate a wetland. You know, it impacts the cost of housing. It impacts how we route our streets and the cost of those streets. So I think we're heading for continued policy loggerheads. And the sooner somebody recognizes that at the state level and convenes some discussion about that, I think everybody within inside of an urban growth boundary and for the protection of the farm and forest land outside would be better served.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, motion on the table. So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. So, and I'll ask Melissa, was I to have a script for reading on this, if there was any appeal? Do you remember? I think I had it. It was last time when we had the full packet.
The public hearing is closed.
Right, but there's usually, once you make a decision, notice of decision, then there's that little script to read. Be on this one? Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, council, next is adoption of the consent calendar. There's just 2 items this evening, so I'll entertain a motion unless you'd like to have an item pulled off for discussion.
Move for adoption of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next is page 38, and this is the College Park Drive water line. And Jeff, is that your item?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So bids for the College Park Drive waterline project were opened on August 18th. We received 4 bids ranging from about $575,000 to $646,000, putting the project slightly over the engineer's estimate and the project budget. We do believe that the bids are reflective of the work to be performed, and we are recommending award to the low bidder trench line excavation of Corvallis in the amount of $574,775.
Is this a new company? Have we had them bid on a project before?
I can't say for certain. The name's familiar to me. They're not a company that normally is a low bidder on our projects, or on our waterline projects, but I've heard the name around.
Sounds new to me. Mm-hmm. Okay, questions? Yeah.
I think the last several bids have come in over what the engineer's estimate has been. Is that indicative of rising E&R costs across the region, or we're not as sharp on our estimating, or what?
Yeah, Stacy Belcastro had provided a short presentation on that a little while back, and yes, you're exactly right. We've got a couple different things going on. Material prices have been on the rise. We're doing on the budget side, we're putting the budgets together, sometimes a year to 16, 17 months before we actually bid the project, so you have things that have changed in the market over that period of time. There's a lot of work out there right now for contractors. On the private side, work has picked up a lot, so people are not having to be as aggressive with their bidding right now as they were a while back. And then we're always, in our estimating, we're always lagging behind the market a little bit because we're going back and looking at past bids in order to do our estimates. And much like when the market went down, we were extremely high on all of our estimates. And then we started lowering our estimates, and then things have started to pick back up, and now we're on the lower end, and
I
we're
guess that was
catching up.
just my segue, trying to figure out, I don't want to get really surprised as bids start coming in for the police and fire construction.
Wes reminds us of that almost daily.
Discussion today.
We did.
See, his ear is smaller where it's been being topped off.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, council, what would you like to do with this item?
I would move the requested action on page 38. Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Just a comment that, I think Jeff hit at least a part of it, is the timing of the bid. Anytime you're bidding between moving into the construction season and winding up a construction season, I think you're going to stand the chance of getting higher unit costs. And I would just encourage staff to try to work out a schedule where we get our major projects, $500,000 or more, out during the competitive portion of when people are really hungry. I looked at this, and this is $525 a lineal foot with everything included. There's a lot of stuff in there, but that's a lot of money for a 12-inch water line. I can remember when we used to build everything in the street for $500 a foot. Water line this size would go for $50 a foot. So we're running 10 times of what we were doing when I was working as a director.
As long as
It has nothing to do with the quality of the director. It has to do with the time and the construction.
The color of your beard?
Yeah, the color of my
Are you
beard.
aging yourself?
As long as we're showing our age, Floyd.
We do have a couple things going on here with this project. We did provide, because of the time of year that was being bid, we provided an extremely gracious construction window through next spring to try to mitigate against the time of year that we were bidding. And then I think there's like 135 water services on this short segment of water line as well, and the pavement condition is not the best. It's an abnormally high number of water services that require a lot more time to work on, as you know, than the water main line itself. So there's some abnormalities with the project that are dictating the cost.
A question, do we ever consider having them install the main line and the city staff install the services?
That's been tossed around back and forth a number of times over the years. It's been a good number of years since I've been part of any discussions of that nature.
If we have a unit cost on services, and if that's what's disproportionately driving cost up, I would think we want to reconsider that policy choice.
Challenges we have, we'd have to, staffing would become a challenge with that, obviously, because our crews are busy daily doing other work, and if you staff up to try to do services, and then you have a year where you're doing treatment projects instead of water line projects or pump station projects instead, then what are you going to have the staff do? So there's some other challenges to think about with that, but I'm speaking for you as you're smiling at me, sorry.
Fine. Keep going.
Nothing else better to do you, Chris?
Okay, so we have a motion, and any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, next item is on page 42, and this is for the League of Oregon Cities Conference. That is the end of this month. And this would be for voting delegate and alternate for the annual League of Oregon City membership meeting. So the ones attending is myself, Jorge, and Sean. So, council, what would you like to do with this item?
Avoid it at all costs.
I guess the question would be is, who's going to be there for what part of the conference? You're going to be there for the whole conference, or?
I'm there for the whole conference.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. And it says the meeting's on Saturday morning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'd make a motion that the mayor have be our voting delegate for the conference.
Second.
And it's also, you need to have a alternate.
Put Sean on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Are you
Mr.
staying on
Hunter.
Saturday?
Yes, I'll be there Saturday morning.
Okay.
I know Jorge's feelings will be hurt, but I think he'll get over it.
If I could vote, I would nominate Jorge, but
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
I was just making a joke that obviously didn't work very well.
So there's a motion to appoint me, and then does that include Sean as the
Yep.
alternate? Okay, all right, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, and next is page 43. This is the Benton County Road Transfer Intergovernmental Agreement. And Chris and Jeff, this is your two items. This is what we had already discussed when we met with Benton County.
Right, thank you, Mayor. So this is the intergovernmental agreement that Benton County and Albany Public Works staffs have been working on for several months now. How we jointly manage Benton County roads within the City of Albany jurisdiction.
Oh,
Okay.
yep, it was turned over.
Better? Okay. So, the key factor here is the schedule of investments in the streets that will, are proposed to be transferred. And, that benefits Benton County, obviously, by reducing their road miles they maintain. It benefits the city by, clarifying jurisdictional issues that come up with citizens in North Albany, and also simplifying processes for projects that come up on these roads, and making the review and, permitting processes a little bit easier. So the council has seen this twice. If you have any additional questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If not, we recommend that you approve the IGA at this point.
Okay, council?
Move for adoption of the IGA.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carried. All right, moving along here, business from the council. So, Rich, anything this evening?
Yes. We have had a situation for some time now. We have medical marijuana facilities in town. And those medical marijuana facilities have not created mushroom clouds or anything, but when they came before us, they said that this was medicine. And that when I, and some others, said, well, it appeared that there were some folks who got medical marijuana cards because they just wanted to get high, and we were told in no uncertain terms, no, that's not the case. We don't want to deal with those folks. We want to deal with people who need marijuana for their physical needs, their, PTSD, et cetera, et cetera. The law now allows cities to stop medical marijuana, well, as of October 1, medical marijuana can be sold recreational marijuana can be sold in medical marijuana facilities. We do not have setbacks established for recreational marijuana. And I think we would all agree that the people who go someplace to get medicine are not exactly the same folks that go someplace to get high or to go get their stuff. That being left up in the air, we haven't dealt with that. I would like to see us not allow medical marijuana dispensaries to sell recreational marijuana through January, when, at that point, then they can apply. They told us that that they were not interested, and, if they were telling us the truth, I think there's not a problem. If they weren't, well, then, they weren't telling us the truth. But to my way of thinking, it's two separate products or two separate groups of people. And I don't think we want to jump in with both feet and have them, Canna Kitchen has said in the paper that they're not interested in selling marijuana recreationally. They can change their mind tomorrow. There's a house right next to them. In Measure 91, there is a 1,000-foot setback from a school, any school, or any regular school. And that 1,000 feet, if you think about it, a school is a hyper-protective place for children. You can't give a kid an aspirin in school. They go to the nth degree, and sometimes it sounds crazy as far as they go. But the people who wrote Measure 91 included a 1,000-foot setback from schools, and that is from a place that is hyper-secure. A playground is not, other things are not. That's a discussion for a different day, what setbacks might be for recreational. But I think today, we need to make sure that we don't drop the ball. And to that end, there is an ordinance available that we could start in process to achieve that.
Bill?
I don't understand your comment about when you mentioned there's no regulation on setbacks or something. As I understand it, as Jim explained it, the rules and regulations we have in place for medical marijuana also apply to the recreational marijuana.
And if you're where Canna Kitchen is, you can sell it right next door to somebody's kid.
Right, because
If it's
they were approved.
Yeah. The
for
place,
that
and
location,
I guess the
right.
place on 34, is that light industrial?
So what happened is we, remember, changed to kind of please, Canna Kitchen was to exempt industrial from the 300-foot setback from a residential property. So we have now 4 medical marijuana facilities in industrial, and one is directly across the street from residential. Canna Kitchen is right next door to residential. So it's kind of, does the council would they like to be seen recreational then in those same areas? You could look at putting recreational as not exempting them in industrial, where they had to be 300 feet no matter what, only be in a commercial and have to be 300 feet.
Well, and my point to this is, we need to do something, if we're going to do something about the setbacks and that kind of thing, we need to do that by January 1. If we don't do anything, they can do it October 1, whether or not that's a good idea from our perspective or not. And the people who came before us before have already told us, we don't want to do that. If you remember what they said.
Right, no, I do.
And so I think we need to say, and of course, the other thing it does is it says, we're not just going to leave it up in the air, and so if somebody says, they go and get ready to start another medical marijuana facility thinking they're going to be able to sell recreational marijuana, and then we turn around and say, change the law, then they are stuck out there having spent all the money. I think we need to let them know to begin with, hold on, let's wait until after January 1, till we've made up our mind, because I'm pretty sure that we haven't done that.
There is one, well, it should be just still medical, but it has started in industrial, that is a smoking lounge. So it's to go in and smoke recreational marijuana in a building.
Yeah.
So that is one that has started up. And actually, I think if it was 300 feet from residential, I don't think they'd be permitted in that location. Mm-hmm.
Well, when we had the work session, Sean, did you tell us in the work session that a smoking lounge for recreation will be a violation of the law?
My conversation with the OLCC and also the Oregon Health Authority was when I gave them a hypothetical based on that specific property. They said that their position on that was consuming marijuana in a public place, which is prohibited by the law. They haven't seen a challenge to it yet, or it hasn't, nothing like that has been litigated yet, but their position was that was a public place, and consumption in a public place, again, was illegal, so that would be one of the things they stressed on that also, and I agree, is that business is risking their medical license to distribute medical marijuana, and if they're found to be in violation, any violation dealing with marijuana, then they're going to lose their license, so something that they would need to think about.
So when I worked my way through the packet that Sean gave us several weeks ago, absent us sending an issue to the ballot in November of 16, recreational marijuana will come in January.
Right, recreational marijuana will be, the OLCC will start issuing licenses as early as January the 4th. Applications will be accepted on January the 4th of 2016. So right now, it's going to be effective October 1st. The medical marijuana facilities are going to be allowed to sell recreational marijuana all the way through December 31st of 2016, which the intent of that is to allow the recreational facilities to get up and get licensed, established, and what they need to do. Now, council could regulate time, place, manner restrictions on recreational facilities if they choose to do so, different from what they are in recreational, like Rich was saying. And if that's the case, then it would give the council time to decide what they want to do on that, although I would agree that we would want to do it before January 1 so that we can put them on notice, because OLCC is going to, once they get an application, they are going to go back to the city to get them to sign off on whether or not it's zoned properly in that location. So we would need to have that in place so that we can give them an answer on that. We'd have a 21-day window to do that. So this would, a prohibition of the medical marijuana facilities being able to sell recreational marijuana would give the city time to figure that out. Otherwise, they're going to start selling October 1 where they're at. Or they can. I'm not saying they will, but they're legally allowed to anyway.
I don't know if this is the time to be discussing this rather than a work session or something like that, but I'll stay on record. If we're going to be trying to treat them differently than we do any establishment that sells alcohol, I'll be against it.
I agree.
So, Rich, you indicated there's an ordinance?
Sean has.
So I was asked to draft an ordinance as a draft sample ordinance of what it would look like if we were to do that. And I've got copies tonight if council would like me to pass them out and look at them. I send them to Wes. So of what it basically would allow them to do. So.
Yeah, go ahead and send them. Mary, that's one, too.
Your draft doesn't affect the issue of recreational other than prohibits the early sale in medical marijuana facilities in October.
Correct.
Well, we haven't done the due diligence.
Yeah, it doesn't address anything effective in January because we haven't done the time, place, and manner discussion yet.
That's correct. This ordinance would only prohibit recreational facilities from starting to sell, medical facilities from selling recreational marijuana in October of this year. Through the end of the year.
Council, do you want to just maybe have Sean do the first reading, and then you guys can look it over, and then in 2 weeks decide on the second reading? Just do the first reading.
I'd say so.
Okay.
Definitely.
I don't think it's that complicated, and, there isn't a whole lot to read here.
Well, no, if he does a first reading, then you don't have to make any decision to move it forward to a second reading. We'll just do that in 2 weeks, then you can decide on that. Want to do that?
If there's a no on the first reading. Yeah, if there's a no on the first reading, we can't read it anyway.
There probably would be anyway, so might as well just read the first reading and
I'd
call it
say.
good. And
I'll say I'm not in favor of this ordinance, period.
Okay. Go ahead and do the first reading, Sean.
Okay. All right. An ordinance of the City of Albany declaring a ban on the sale of recreational marijuana by medical marijuana dispensaries and declaring an emergency.
Okay, so then.
I'll make a motion, the ordinance be read a second time in title only.
Second?
Okay, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, roll call.
Olson,
No.
Collins,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Callum,
Yes.
Kupczynski,
No.
Coper.
Yes.
It's 4-2, but it was not unanimous, so.
Right.
So the other question is, what's the emergency?
Right.
So, in this particular case, it's not life or limb emergency, but the reason the emergency clause was put in there is because if we don't do it within 30 days, October 1 will come, the medical facilities will be able to start selling, and then if we go ahead and if the council elects to go ahead and to adopt this ordinance, then you're put in a position of then having to go back and tell these people to stop doing what they're already doing, and it's a lot easier to have them just not do it in the first place.
But like you said, it's
So-
not a life and limb, it's not an emergency.
Nope, that's certainly something for y'all to decide.
Who and how are you going to distinguish between medical and recreational marijuana?
Medical marijuana, you would have to obtain with your medical marijuana card. When you go into the facility, you have to have a card to go in and to get your medical marijuana. My understanding is it's not very difficult to obtain a medical marijuana card, that you can actually do it online. But in any event, that's what would, it would also allow you to get, I believe, more marijuana with a medical marijuana card than you would be recreational. Recreational, you're only allowed a half an ounce per day per person once it is legal to
So
sell.
if I've got a medical marijuana card, I can go and buy recreational marijuana if they've got it. I
No,
guess.
no, you can buy
No,
medical marijuana.
That's
If you have a medical marijuana card, you can get medical marijuana and buy recreational marijuana up to a half an ounce. It doesn't prohibit you from buying like everyone else, but
Well, but I think the question, Sean, is not, first of all, you can't buy medical marijuana from a
Right.
dispensary.
Right.
The dispensary just dispenses it. You buy from growers. It's a
Right.
complicated system, but that's the way it works. You can't walk into a store, even with a card right now, and say, I want to buy medical marijuana from a dispensary. You have to,
Right.
they can arrange it for you under this law. The new law that will go into effect on October 1st, if the council said, we'll let things happen as the state is allowing them to happen, as of October 1st, dispensaries would no longer be just dispensaries. They would also be sales outlets, retail outlets, where you could go in, where any person over the age of 21 could go in and purchase marijuana for their personal consumption. And if you pass this ordinance, you would say, no, we don't want that to happen. And we will wait until January to find out what the rules that the state has established for the sale of so-called recreational marijuana. And then if a community shows and said, look, we don't want to go down that road, the council has the option of referring to a vote of the people in November of 2016, about a year from now, a referendum on the subject of marijuana.
And then some counties, but not all counties, correct?
No, any
county could.
city can refer to the voters a ban on the sale of recreational marijuana in that community.
I was thinking it was only counties that did not approve the,
No, those counties don't need to refer it to their voters. They can
Right.
just do it.
Right.
Okay.
If it's 55%.
Yeah, and there were no counties east of or west of the Cascades that
Yeah.
qualified for that.
We
So-
were at 52.
But that's another decision for another day. And then, as Sean pointed
Different
out, one of the decisions that you'll be thinking about presumably is whatever manner of time and place restrictions that you want to impose on the sale of recreational marijuana. You already have one. I mean, we passed an ordinance last year, I think it was last year, that said, you can't, both for recreational and for medical marijuana, it cannot be located within 300 feet of a residential zone. And
Except for
unless
industrial.
they're located in an industrial zone.
I guess I'd point out that we're not the only ones talking about this. I know there are a whole ginormous list of folks who have done it already. I mean, it is the,
Minimal number of cities that have done it already.
do you have that, Sean?
I do not have the list of how many cities have done it. There are a good number that are doing the ban on the recreational marijuana being sold through medical facilities. None of an outright ban of recreational facilities being established at this point. I don't say none, but there are a few of those. And my understanding is there are more that are happening this month as well to get in under the October 1st.
The
deadline.
OLCC publishes a list every couple of weeks.
Right.
And right now, there's about 25 cities and counties across the entire state that are involved with this.
That have already done it, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
Would you like
have,
to-
if everyone wants, I do have the list of counties. It was as of 9/3 of 15, there were 22 counties and cities that have
That's a
opted
minimal
out.
number of 10% of the entire,
But, so we're not alone, that's the main thing.
Okay, well, we can take this up then in 2 weeks and decide on,
That's what it
Sounds
is.
good.
on that. So, okay, all right. Thank you, Sean, for your assistance on that.
Mayor, given the second component that Rich talked about is, notwithstanding what we do with this ordinance, we need to be thinking about, do we want to modify the time, place, and manner standards for recreational starting January of 16? And I think that's maybe a topic of a work session. You know, we have within 300 feet of residential now. You know, the state has within 1,000 feet of a school. You know, before, when we were talking about medical marijuana, we were talking about daycare centers, boys and girls clubs. You know, if you see fit to protect schools, are you protecting other places where kids congregate? And
Yeah.
that's a discussion we should have probably at a work session.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. That's my
But
main
also,
thing.
Sean, I think you mentioned that realistically, probably wouldn't be a single retail license granted until mid-2016.
It just depends on how fast OLCC, I guess it really depends on how many they receive and then how fast they can process them. But once they get one, let's say we get one on day one, on January the 4th, by the time it comes to the city has 21 days to respond to OLCC's request of whether or not it's in the right land use and zoning classifications. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'd be the middle of 2016, but I would say it would be pushing at least the second quarter anyway, so.
Well, but we should, in all fairness, we should know what it is we want to do by January 1, so somebody doesn't go out there and spend a bunch of money that they may or may not be able to make good use of afterwards. I mean, it's only fair to let people know if you're going to say you can do it here but not there, if they're thinking about buying land in the place you say they can't do it.
No, I would agree. Give
Well, yeah, and
people
we'd
notice
need-
of what we're going to do.
We would need to do it way before
Yeah.
January, because if people are,
Yeah.
you know, preparing to, like you say,
Yeah.
purchase or whatever, you know, we'd probably want to do that in the fall, just to make, you know, so that people know where we stand and where they stand, because otherwise, like you say, they'll have a chance to go out and spend a lot of money on something, and then they won't be able to do it, so it's only fair to them.
Okay, all right. Is that it, Rich, this evening?
God, isn't that enough?
I think it was. Okay, Ray?
Yeah, I understand that Community Development Block Grant folks are running into a little bit of an issue in that there's folks that are coming off of their terms, et cetera, and a few months ago, I don't know, was it 4, 5, 6 months
Last
ago?
February.
February, that we had a little kerfuffle about how to get folks appointed to it. I think we need to bring that back up to a work session to iron that out.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so if we can get that put on the next work session, so we can get that figured out, so, on that.
Well, the only reason I ask is I know we've got pretty heavy work session schedules, but we'll do our best.
Okay,
Get it
I
on
don't
this
think
quick.
it'll take too long. It's pretty much is what happened. There was a couple language changes. It was original language from when we had the task force, And currently, the way it is written is any member to renew membership would, basically, we would have to interview, as the whole council body, interview the commission members. So we've got 3 commission members that are running on expired terms from last year, and we got 3 more coming up. And the commission members would like the language changed, and they've all said they don't want to be sitting there in a public forum having to be interviewed to be doing this volunteer position. So we don't do that to any of our other commission members, and that's where I think we need to revisit that item again. So so I think maybe hopefully we can fit that in on that next work session, and then staff will bring back that original language to that to refresh everybody's memory. Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Ray. Anything else? Okay, Floyd?
No.
Okay, Bessie?
Nothing tonight.
Bill? Yep, Dick? Okay, and I didn't have anything this evening. Wes, did you? You didn't have any? Okay, Stuart's got something, okay?
Thank you, Mayor. Just an information piece for the City Council. Received a letter today from John Pascone, President of Albany Millersburg Economic Development Corporation, just giving us notice that there's going to be consideration of expanding an enterprise zone to accommodate the expansion of a current business and a potential new business in an area, and that will be coming to the sponsors of the enterprise zone, which includes City of Albany, City of Lebanon, City of Millersburg, and that resolution will be coming, well, will be forthcoming. We don't have a specific date yet, but we received that notice, so I wanted to pass it along to the City Council.
Did you know what jurisdiction it was in for the expansion?
No.
They didn't say. In which town?
We received notice because we could potentially be impacted. So at this point, that's the information we have.
Okay, all right. Okay, anything? Yeah. All right, staff have anything? Okay. Our next work session is September 21st, and our regular session is September 23rd, and with that, we're adjourned. Okay, thank you.
Chris,
Sure.
one nation under God is one for